Welcome to Roomings. Every week, we take mini dives into topics and explore it on what it is, what it can be, and what it should be. We are a coach, a psychologist, and an expressive arts practitioner, and we just want to be a part of the conversation. Join us every Sunday if you'd like to ruminate or muse with us. Join us on Roomings. Welcome back to Roomings. Last Sunday, we spoke to you about a very important part of our life, which we like to call as pockets of time. It was about how we all need a bit of this personal space and time, and why is it so significant to do so? Namita also shared an article with us on the 7 different types of rest that we need for our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well being. Today, we have something very interesting in store for you. And we'll also be joined by our friends and guests, Heta, Sonam, and Samir, as we explore some of these rests. We'll be exploring these rests to know where we are at and how we could start inviting them into our lives more consciously. Sometimes we don't know the rest we need and how to rejuvenate or reboot. So instead of taking those massive vacations once a year to cool off, we can take these small breaks in between. Last year showed us how challenging the four walls of our homes could be when there was nowhere you could escape to. We have come up with some small exercises and activities to ease you into these steps. I invite you to participate with us. All you need are a few pieces of paper, a pen, some space to yourself to move about, to be and sit in. And with that, we begin. So take a moment, find that cushion, that chair next to the window. Find the place that calls you in your home. We begin by tuning into our space, where our body is. What are the sounds that you can hear? Notice all of them. How many can you notice? Now gently close your eyes and notice the same sounds again. Is there a difference? Can you notice more sounds? With your eyes still closed, which sounds are you drawn to? Which sounds pull you, attract your attention? And what happens to the rest of them? Were you able to notice what is noise for you and what is sound? What is your understanding of a noise and sound? I'll give you a moment to tune in further. Let that sink in while our guests come back with what they heard.
Um, so obviously there were a lot of sounds. I couldn't classify them as noise versus sound because maybe I'm used to these sounds to such an extent that I've kind of gotten used to it. So I wasn't rejecting any sound per se, but I was noticing them. So, for example, there were sounds related to the traffic. There were sounds while I was walking, I could hear my footsteps. My knees were kind of clicking when I was walking. Then I tried to kind of, move into a different room. So I was just trying to explore what are the different sounds, trying to go into the other room to a place where the traffic is less and all. And over there, as the other sounds got quieter, I could then notice the lighter sounds, like for example, the shallow breathing that I'm doing, or
Wow, Sami, that was such an interesting exploration you did there of moving about your entire house, seeing how the sounds are further away and nearer to yourself.
certain sounds my body just randomly makes in my stomach, for example, just
That was quite nice. Sonam, how is it for you?
So the experience when I closed my eyes to the way I could differentiate between a sound and a noise was the sound. For me, sound was birds chirping, the little ruffle from the ghungroos. But for me, the noise would be the honking, knees clicking because I was moving around a little bit, and from the compass ruffle. Space would be about people walking around. So while the eyes were closed, the fabric noise because of walking, and probably the little wind blowing, or you would say a little whoosh from the wind. This was when my eyes were closed, but when my eyes were open, I could hear less than when my eyes were closed.
Yeah, Sonam, that does happen, right? When you hear more, when one of your senses just shuts down for a bit. You absorb and soak in your environment way more, and it's a richer experience for good or sometimes for bad. Tuning in and out like this helps us to orient ourselves. And how to turn it off or which volume to lower, it helps us to notice the soundscape that we are ushered into every day of our lives. Moving on to our bodies, let us stretch a bit. Our arms, our legs, shake them, move them, and now slowly tune into your bodies with your breaths. For our listeners, feel free to pause this, take your time with these small activities and tasks, and do it at your pace. Take 10 minutes if you need to, and explore this part of you. Let out long exhalations. Take deep breaths and let them out. And start moving again. Rotate your hips, wave your arms, turn your neck, reach for your toes, shake your leg, shake your leg, and be aware of your breaths throughout. Simon, how was it for you? I think there was so much difference before and after. I kind of feel like it just relaxed not just my body but also my mind. That I was just moving and I was allowing my body to move as it wanted. There were also points where I was going and taking the support of this of the wall or of something in the house. And I think it was so calming, Abba. And I think this is something that I'm actually going to start doing on a more regular basis because firstly I need to give yes more priority to fitness, but this I think is more for me mentally because somewhere just doing these stretches and releasing that tension, there was so much tension I think that got released in my body, in my lower back, in my shoulders. I could feel my legs kind of just relaxing, and I feel like this is such a beautiful thing to do before you go to sleep because somewhere you're telling your body that whatever you have gone through in the day and whatever stress that you're holding, let it go, let it all out. And it also mentally makes you just, again, calmer, like I said before. Simone, I couldn't agree more. It does calm you down in a certain way and relaxes you. So I'm glad. I'm glad you're feeling calmer now. So, were you able to find yourself to be stiff or heavy? Did the breaths help? Did you learn anything new about yourself and your body? Heta?
Yes, it did. The breathing did help. Eventually, when we did take a few deep breaths or whatever, I could feel the relaxation in the neck. I could feel my shoulders just stoop down to relax, the stooping down from relaxation rather than being stiff from the tension, not just the physical tension, but I could feel it. The breathing, yes, towards the end of it, it did help.
Now that you guys have opened up to your bodies, to your breaths, we move on to the elephant in the room. How do we understand where we are emotionally? So, on a sheet of paper, make 3 columns in the order of month, week, and today. Let the headings of each column be month, week, and today in this very chronology. We'll take a small inventory of how it has been for us. Write down in words, adjectives, small sentences how each period of time mentioned has been for you. Even if it was one day of feeling rewarded, grateful, happy, sad, mention it. Take about 5-10 minutes to list all of this down. Your month can be difficult, but the week can be bright. One half of your day might be a damp, but it could end well. Notice if there are any repeating words and how often they are repeating. Are they repeating in a particular context or a situation? Is that recurring? Without going into a zone or a space of fixing it or finding a solution for it, just notice it. So often, these are very quick check ins as to where we are emotionally. And sometimes these words can help us. To all our listeners, take your time to pause this podcast to complete your activity. The reason we decided to include these sharings and all our friends were so warm enough to participate in this was we learn from each other's experiences. There's so many times where the sharings resonate with what we are going through. We may not realize it until someone has spoken just the same thing. And let's hear how it was for you guys.
Okay, so my month started really in a really bad place. It was dark. I was lonely, very, very lonely. It felt, I know I had all the help around me, but it just felt that I didn't. My own thoughts were too loud and they were too sharp that wouldn't let me see kindness around me. Over time, if I have to say, I'm beginning to love myself again. It's a bit of a foreign concept. I'm a little sorry to say that, but because I stepped out and I put my foot down and I said that I can't exist in this dark space anymore, is when I realized that there was a lot of kindness and support around me. I had closed all doors. And I think the word that keeps coming for me is flight. And I think today, in all the movements that we did, I was flying. I was just a bird. I really want to be a bird today. And I know for the listeners it sounds weird, but I'm not inside out happy, but I'm not inside out sad either. There have been constants from my month, week today, but it's almost like the sun is coming out slowly. Of course, this week has been awesome because I've had such beautiful, loving surprises and warmth and laughter fill my days up. But yeah, I do realize that it's still certain things that are so hard for me to unlearn. I recognize its noise, but I also feel like I'm holding on to it as if it's a defense mechanism. Again, if that is something that I'm holding on to, that intensity has reduced from month, week to today, but it's still there. If I have to focus on today was so much of warmth and sunlight, I'm inspired today, I'm in awe today, I'm finding joy like a little child, and I'm roaming around this space like I'm looking at this space like a kid again.
Namita, all I can say is fly away, you birdie. And we come to our final part dealing with the creative rest. I invite you to take a small walk, even a few paces would do, to your garden or where your potted plants are, or a small park nearby, or your favorite spot in the home where you can feel some sun rays on you. Collect things that attract your eye: an odd shaped pebble, fallen leaves, dried flowers. Once you've collected all these things, find a way to make it to a part of the space, your desk, your corner, and make a small installation with it. Arrange these things. Play with how you're going to place them. Explore their context with each other. What colors look good next to each other? Where do you feel like keeping that little pebble? You may use the existing materials in your homes, like a lamp, a paper. Take a few minutes to intuitively place these things, arrange these things. The small activity was to take a pause to invite some nature and beauty along with inspiration into our lives in the form of some colors, textures, some smells. To unwind for a few minutes of the day, to step away, step back. You don't always have to fix something, solve a problem. Even if you don't have a view of the glorious sunset, let the colors of the sunset seeping in inspire you. The idea is to shift our focus and demand of inspiration being something grand to something very ordinary, accessible, something very everyday around. Heta, I really want to see what you've done. It looks really interesting. Would you like to tell us more about it?
So, I picked what attracted me the most at that moment. I picked the Christmas tree bit because it's a very resilient plant. It survives in all weather kinds, especially the extreme cold. I've been on a certain internal journey myself. I can resonate with that. I know my journey, my emotional journey that I've been through. So I resonate with that, that even I've survived some highs and lows and I'm still here and I've just grown and I haven't fallen or broken. I'm still intact. The paper has a lot of color, which again is, it is there in harmony. With everything else, there is a blue, there is a red, and it's all mixing into each other, which to me is what life is. It's all there. If your 1 minute is good, the other is bad, that doesn't change the bigger aspects of your life. Like nothing ends. There are some bits which are dry, there are some which are wet. The drier ones to me are the reminder of a cycle coming to an end. Wilting of a flower or a plant is never happy to see, but it doesn't make me unhappy because it makes me feel like, okay, now there is going to be a new start. Always looking on the brighter side of whatever is there in front of me. There is a leaf which has it's a variegated croton leaf which has some yellow dots, the freshest element in my entire this thing. So it's a cycle that you go through, from that fresh to dead, going through all these emotions, going through all these journeys, not just emotional, spiritual, physical also. But yeah, then this entire setup, the way it is, for me, it's a circle of who I am today, right now, what I feel about myself. Has this gotten over? No. A lot of things inside me are coming to an end. A lot of patterns inside me are coming to an end. But then I'm also seeing the beginning of new ones. So that fear of, letting go of something, because if I let go of this, what next? Or the void that scares us and doesn't allow us to release some unnecessary things inside us. Today I'm confident that nature has its way of bringing in new things when the old things leave. That's what the elements picked. The arrangement I didn't quite much think about it. I just put, except for two things, it just came as a flow.
Heta, your imagery was spectacular. The things you picked, and it makes me think of the fact that nature has a way of mirroring things for you, of showing you exactly what you need. It brings me so much joy to see so much resilience in and around your life. The way you've grown, the way you've changed, and it almost reminds me again of the same imagery of like how seasons change one after the other. So has been your growth, the way you've changed. Let things go, let something shed in order for something new to be born. So, what a beautiful journey. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. This was a very small attempt by us to share with you some very simple, basic things you can do every day. Create openings for you to bring in these rests in your life, to take these pauses. And we hope you find your ways, your methods, your new routes to do so. And I would like to take a moment to thank all our participants here: Sameer, Simon, Heta, Sonam, Namita. You guys were amazing today. Just amazing. We've not been able to include all the sharings, but we have a small surprise for you later in this week. Do watch out for this space for something more. So, this was a small offering for you through the arts, through nature, of how you can bring in or how you can bridge in that connection with yourself. And we hope you take it ahead. With that, we leave you to muse and ruminate on what are the rests you need at this point in your life. And how can you create it for yourself? See you next week. Till then, happy roomings.